Hello, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, and welcome. It's Nurse Richard, the Wax Wizard. Thanks for joining me for episode 210. There's 4 ears in this for you. Both, the first 2 from the same patient, second 2 from the same patient. Really interesting presentation, this one. As you can probably see, this chap's got these ear canals and they're really angular, and it's led that it's really odd how the wax is formed in there. You know, most ear canals are a bit like that. Now is extremely extremely elongated like that. Now it's not too wide that I couldn't get the full-size tube in there, but it ended up with these like shards, if you like, of wax and skin that. Difficulty with, especially this bit here, difficulty you can have is getting a good grip, because it's, as I've explained before, you can get like if you can get a flat edge, you get a full seal. Essentially what you're trying to do is you're trying to block the suction tube. As soon as you block it by covering it over with that piece of earwax in there, the power in the machine increases, and then you can pull it out. But when you've got these like leading edges like that, it's hard to cover over the whole surface of the suction tube. So you can't get a full seal. You can make it a bit tricky, but because I could fit the full-size tube in there, managed to get enough power. The second one was a bit trickier than this one, but yeah, you get this really thick, angular shards. Really odd how it presented like this. It can happen every now and then, not that uncommon. And you can see a bit cloudy eardrum. There was a good age, this chap. You can see the second one here, can't you? As it's been shedding out the ear, it's kind of folded in on itself. You could barely hear anything out of this one. And I don't know if you've already heard some of the audio, but every time he sees something coming out, because as I've said to you before, I cast it from the iPod that I'm watching, like a little monitor at the side there. I'm looking that way at this monitor. I can't even fingers that way. I'm looking that way at the monitor, and then he can cast it from that device onto a screen in front of the patient. Not for all of them, if I think it means that they won't be able to keep still. But for most of them, I do that. And with every single time he saw a little bit coming out or a big bit coming out, he just said, "Wow." But I think people do appreciate it on the most part. Again, got the similar problem here. Got this really angular piece where I can't get the suction tube over all of it. Could have put the fine end tube on there, but wouldn't have had quite as much power. But I'll be honest, even though it was a leading edge, it was still more than enough with a bit of a shake and a wiggle to get these out. There you go, that was probably the biggest chunk in that one. And I thought that might have been it, but as you can see, it left a bit right deep down just in front of the eardrum there. So I have changed to the fine end tube there. It's quite dark, that bit down there. Obviously that's been there the longest. And I just needed to lift that up from the bottom there. And then I think this came out in one go as well, from what I remember. Quite a satisfying one, this. Let's try and slowly roll that forward. There we go, another really flat, angular shard. No, it didn't come out in one go. My mistake. But you can see what's left again, can't you? Really dark, hardened wax just in front of the eardrum there, and I suspect some of that's kind of tucked away in those nooks and crannies that you kind of can't see. You just got to know that they're there. And I suspect that there's a fair bit of that hidden down in those trenches and crevices that you can't see until you pull these things out. There you go, nice lift there. Went quite well, this one. Wasn't particularly tricky, but just as satisfying to watch. I hope you enjoy these type of ones. I've kind of run out. I did want your advice with something like a little bit of speck left there.
No, it's okay.
I'm kind of running out of things to title these videos. Oh, but this one, I wasn't after this bit here. I was after that bit in the background that you can see, and as I was putting the tube in, it just pulled in a bit that I wasn't going for. He said, "Don't forget about me," and it just jumped in there. So I thought, all right then, you can come out too. Don't want you to feel left out. Yeah, I'm running out of things to name these videos. I would welcome any suggestions as to some titles. I'm not even sure what I'm going to call this one as of yet, because there's only so many ways you can describe an ear or describe earwax, to be honest. So feel free to come up with some suggestions, and I'll write them all down, and I'll use them in the future. Maybe you can spot one of yours in the future. Who knows? Say that was my idea, though. Right, this last two here, one was a bit drier than the other. Now I remember this one because it was only this morning. I've seen this young lady. It was a young lady, and although she said her hearing wasn't affected all the time, it was on and off. She felt particularly when she woke up. It took a while to clear, and it's one of those ones that you've got a few little gaps around the edges of it. So a little bit of sound can get through, but as the ear naturally moves, you know, every time you eat, you chew, you talk, you yawn, the ear canal moves a little bit, and so sometimes it sticks together and then unsticks itself, and that's probably the problem that she'd been having. Another one who I think quite enjoyed this, watching it. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think we had to get the Jobson horn in to get this bit out. Yeah, it is. So lifted it up from the base of the ear canal there. It was more firm than I thought it was. It was quite firm, and not the largest of ears to get something like this out of. It wasn't a huge plug. It was just not the biggest of entrances. So I think I knew at this point it's going to need a bit of something else to try and get it out because of the resistance I'm feeling when I'm trying to pull it. But I thought I'll just need to move it a bit nearer towards me first. Let's pull it a bit nearer towards the outside, and then we can hopefully get something in there behind it and just roll it forwards. So trying to give it a good shape there, trying to pull it to the side. You can see how dry it is, can't you, with kind of the marks that it leaves on the end of these plugs. Always a giveaway that as to how dry it is. If you start to see these paler marks, you know. So again, it's at this point I can feel a bit of resistance. I'm just going to think I'm going to have one more wiggle and a shake before thinking, no, do you know what? You're going to need something else here. But I'm happy I've brought it further forward enough that it shouldn't be too difficult to get out. So I'm just going to try and see. Now, I'm not going to try and necessarily get this behind it. Just going to slowly roll it forwards a little bit. So it's rolling forward, and then it'll in a second it'll just tumble forward. And I think it took her by surprise when she saw it. That's why it kind of disappeared from shot for a second. She moved around a little bit. Now I'm trying to dig that into it, but it's pretty hard. It's rock solid. Now if I had a sharper tool like a hook or the rosin insert, you probably would have dug in that quite easily. But I just had to scoop that up with a suction tube. Beautifully clear, shiny eardrum after that one. The other one, I don't think she'd been having as many problems with this one, but it certainly needed to come out. And again, this was quite dry as well, and quite hard as well. You can kind of feel as soon as you touch it, you get a feel for these things. You can already tell just by looking at it, to be honest, how dry it is. But I thought I'll try the suction first, just see if it lifts up and comes out, because they might surprise you. They might appear one way and then react a different way, as you can see, as did that one. So it just came out. It's only a small bit, that, but it's going to prevent having problems with it in the future. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more, but for now, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you later. Ta-da.